You've already lived this life millions of times, but you forget every time. You know that feeling? You're standing in an unfamiliar place, but it seems painfully familiar. You meet someone for the first time, but it's as if you've known them your whole life. You say a phrase you've never spoken before, but it sounds as though you've repeated it 1,000 times. Déjà vu, that's what we call these strange moments. But what if it's not a glitch in perception, but a hint at something far more frightening and amazing? What if every morning when you wake up, thinking a new day of your one and only life is beginning, what's actually happening is a reboot? What if you've already lived this life millions of times, made the same choices, met the same people, but forget about it every time at the moment of birth? Imagine a video game where after the character dies, you don't return to the last save point, but to the very beginning, every time with a clean memory, every time thinking you're playing for the first time. But the skills remain. Intuition guides you. Something deep inside knows how to complete this level. Maybe your life works exactly like this. You're stuck in a time loop, and the only reality you know is the endless repetition of the same scenario. Your scenario. This idea isn't new. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about eternal recurrence, a philosophical concept according to which everything in the universe repeats infinitely. Every moment, every decision, every breath will be repeated in exactly the same way again and again. But what if Nietzsche wasn't just a philosopher, but a prophet? What if he saw the structure of reality as it truly is? Only here, we're not talking about cosmic cycles and the rebirth of the universe. Here we're talking about you, about your specific life, which you live again and again, each time from scratch, each time forgetting about previous attempts. After death, there is no heaven, no hell, no new incarnation in another body. There is only a return to the beginning, to the moment of your birth or first conscious memory. You're a baby again, a child again, a teenager again, an adult again, with the same parents, in the same house, in the same era. Everything is identical down to the smallest details. But why don't you remember? Because memory is a function of the brain, and the brain resets with each restart. Like a computer that's been turned off and on again, the operating system loads anew, the files are in place, but the RAM is empty. You get the same personality, the same basic characteristics, but memories of previous cycles are erased, or almost erased, because something still remains. Not at the level of conscious memory, but deeper, in the subconscious, in intuition, in inexplicable premonitions. You come to a place where you've never been, but you know exactly where the exit is. You meet a person and immediately feel you can't trust them, even though they seem pleasant. You make a decision that's logically unjustified, but turns out to be right. These are traces of previous attempts. Your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten. Every fear that seems irrational, perhaps an echo of trauma from a past cycle. Every attraction to a certain person, the result of multiple encounters with them in previous versions of life. You fall in love with the same person again and again, each time thinking it's fate. And in some sense, it really is fate. You're programmed to meet them, not by external forces, but by your own decisions, made millions of times in millions of cycles. Your life isn't an accident, but the result of an infinite number of attempts to live it better. Every talent you have is the result of practice in previous cycles. You weren't simply born with the ability to play piano or a sense of humor. You developed these abilities again and again, and now they manifest as innate. A child prodigy isn't a miracle of nature, but an old soul who has already mastered this skill in past attempts. Your mistakes aren't random either. You step on the same rakes because you can't remember that you've already stepped on them, or because the lesson hasn't been learned yet. Perhaps you've already tried to avoid certain decisions, but still came to them because you haven't changed the internal cause that leads to them. But who or what created this loop and why? There are several possibilities, each of which changes the meaning of everything that's happening. The first version is karmic simulation, The universe, or God, or higher intelligence gave you the opportunity to live life as many times as necessary to live it correctly. Each cycle is an exam. Learn to love unconditionally, forgive completely, see truth clearly, and you'll exit the loop. This isn't punishment, but a gift. Infinite attempts to become better. The second version is an experiment of consciousness. You're a participant in research you don't know about. Some advanced civilization or artificial intelligence is studying human behavior by running the same life through different variants. Each cycle adds data. What happens if at age 20 you meet this person? And if you don't meet them, what changes? The third version is the most frightening. You created this prison for yourself, not consciously, but through the force of your unfinished business, unresolved emotions, unresolved conflicts. Your soul can't move forward because it's stuck in patterns of guilt, fear, or regret. Each cycle is an attempt by the subconscious to fix what seems unfixable. You're not a prisoner of external forces, but a captive of your own beliefs. The fourth version is evolutionary. Each cycle is a step in the development of your consciousness. You gradually awaken, become more aware, wiser. But the process is long, and memory is erased so as not to overload the system. You grow as a soul without even understanding it. Perhaps all versions are correct simultaneously, or none. The more important question is there an exit from this loop? And if there is, how do you find it? The answer lies in the question itself. The first step to liberation is realizing that you're trapped. As long as you live on autopilot, repeating the same patterns, not noticing oddities and synchronicities, the cycle will continue. But as soon as you wake up, start paying attention to details, to repetitions, to your reactions, something begins to change. Maybe déjà vu is those moments when the veil between cycles becomes thin, when memory of previous attempts almost breaks through into consciousness. These moments need to be caught, explored, used as keys. Awareness is your main weapon against the time loop. Every moment of presence, every conscious choice, every decision to act not by inertia, but by inner wisdom. All of this breaks automatic patterns. Perhaps the exit isn't in changing life's events, but in changing your attitude toward them. Not avoiding pain, but accepting it. Not defeating fear, but befriending it. Not receiving love, but learning to give it without expecting anything in return. Or maybe the whole point is simply to notice the loop, to realize that you're in it. And in that moment of realization, to wake up so much that you remember this awakening in the next cycle. Imagine, you're living life for the millionth time, but inside you, there's a quiet voice whispering, "You've been here before. You know what comes next. You can choose differently." And you choose, not because you remember exactly, but because you feel. This voice is the result of millions of cycles of learning. Your intuition is the compressed experience of all your lives, condensed into a simple feeling of yes or no. When you follow intuition instead of logic, you're using wisdom accumulated over countless attempts. But there's another possibility. Maybe the goal isn't to exit the loop, but to fully accept it, to understand that repetition isn't punishment, but blessing, a chance to live every precious moment again and again, an opportunity to love the same people infinitely many times, the right to infinite attempts to become better. In this perspective, your life isn't a prison, but a work of art that you perfect with each performance. Like a musician who plays the same piece, but each time finds new shades, new meanings, new beauty in it. And then the question changes, not how to exit the loop, but how to live it as consciously as possible. How to turn repetition into meditation, cycle into dance, fate into creativity. Maybe right now, hearing these words, you're in one of such cycles. Maybe you've already heard them before, in a past attempt. Maybe something inside you recognizes these ideas, not as new, but as forgotten. Pay attention to your reaction, to how your inner voice sounds. Doesn't it seem to you that you've already thought about this? Doesn't a strange feeling appear that you already knew all this, You just couldn't formulate it? Look at your hand, listen to your breathing, feel how the air touches your skin. Read this sentence again and tell yourself, perhaps I've already lived this. Perhaps I'm not here for the first time, and this time I won't forget. Won't forget that life is a treasure worth living consciously. Won't forget that every person I meet might be part of a repeating scenario, but our relationships can become deeper with each cycle. Won't forget that every choice matters, even if I'll make it again. Perhaps awakening is that moment when you stop fighting the loop and start dancing to its rhythm. When you understand that repetition isn't a curse, but an opportunity. An opportunity to become a little wiser, a little kinder, a little more yourself each time. And if this is true, if you really are living this life again and again, then it means every moment is infinitely valuable. Because even if it repeats, you'll never live it exactly the same way. Each cycle is a new interpretation of the same theme. You're stuck in a life loop, but maybe it's not a prison. Maybe it's a home you return to again and again because it's perfectly suited for your growth, and each time you find something new in it.